Welcome, interested citizens, to our Austin City panel. We are currently having a panel on the government use of personal information for security. My name is Pamela Scott. I'm a city council member and I'm facilitating the panel as the moderator. This is Barrett Barger, who is here as an NSA official. Samantha Tron, who is here as a PhD. She has a PhD in data analysis. And Derek Davies, who is an IT expert working in network security. And at the end we have Esteban Salas, who is a representative for the FAA. And the panel is here to provide information for you about some of the government security issues and how the use of the personal information can affect you. And with that said, each panelist will have 30 seconds to answer the first question and a minute and a half for each question after that. And I would ask the audience to please hold their questions until the end of the panel, at which point we'll have a Q&A session to answer those. So, Barrett, what is your position on the topic?
Thank you, Pamela. As she stated, my name is Barrett Barger. I'm an NSA official, and I'm for government intervention on the basis of two reasons. One being safety, that's obvious. As the United States, we have a big target on our back for being one of the strongest nations in the world. And two is technology. The pace is unfathomable right now. So having online protection is of the utmost importance.
Thank you. And Samantha, what is your position on the topic?
Thank you. As Pamela stated, my name is Samantha Tron, and I'm for the government looking into information of citizens. I'm for basically because the government has to be involved in our lives and it has to keep us safe. As Obama stated in one of his speeches, when he's no longer president, it is most likely that he's going to be one of the people the government will look at for his information, his phone calls, and he stated himself that he wouldn't want his invasion of privacy, and why would the government? Thank you.
And Derek, what is your position on the topic?
I am against government invasion of privacy because it's a violation on our civil rights, and it is simply just wrong to go behind many Americans' backs without even making them aware that you're tapping into their information and spying on them, and it's just not fair because there's no reason for it. Thanks.
Thank you. And Esteban, what is your position on the topic?
I'm against government invasion of privacy because I feel that the increasing rise of technology these days makes it very easy for people to be spied on by the government, and it violates many of the rights that are protected by the Fourth Amendment also.
Thank you. Now, Barrett, for your second question, can you please describe the methodology of the government intervention?
Yes, so the NSA is part of a data mining program called PRISM, and this program allows the NSA and government to search the history, content of calls, file transfers, and live chats. And also, NSA has gained limited access to some of the major internet giants such as Apple, Yahoo, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and those sorts of websites. And it is thought of to the NSA having a backdoor to all the websites and having all the information at their disposal. But in reality, that's not the case. According to General Alexander, the NSA director, he states, "I can't defend the country until I'm allowed all access into the networks." And this just solidifies the notion that they don't have all the access to the information. And we're trying to get that, and that's all dependent on society.
Thank you. And Samantha, what is the public response to government privacy invasion?
Thank you. Interestingly enough, people under the age of 30 are more interested in their privacy, whereas people over the age of 50 are more concerned with safety. 60% of people over the age of 50 were polled and said that they wanted safety, whereas 59% of people under the age of 29 said that they wanted their privacy. This is a whopping 29-point difference, and it just shows you how the age difference can make an effect. And one study showed that this is due to the events that can happen during one's life, such as 9/11 happening, and such big events like that can really affect a person's view over safety or privacy.
Thank you. And Derek, how is the government using technology to spy on us?
Well, in many ways, the government is using technology to spy on us. The first of being which that the NSA can use geolocation data stored in smartphones whenever you download an application. So as soon as you accept those terms and conditions without even reading them, there's a lot of hidden rules in there that they can hack into anything they want. Whenever you post a Facebook status, anything like that, post a picture, they can get your location right away and know any information. The second thing is a 1994 law known as the Communications Assistant for Law Enforcement Act. It requires that telecommunications or equipment, facilities, or services are built with mechanisms to allow the government to legally intercept communications. They can get the date, the time, or even up to phone numbers whenever they go into it. Also, there's also reports according to the Washington Post that the new Xbox console called the Xbox One will have voice commands. Even when the console's turned off, it's always listening no matter what to your conversations. And also it can even read your heartbeat even when the console's turned off. And civilians are starting to fear that maybe the government has already found a way or already is tapping into that system.
Thank you. And Esteban, why does the government see the need to use drones?
Well, the FAA has been coming under extreme pressure by Congress and its allies to open the skies to UAVs. Military and law enforcement are keenly interested in developing small drones for the advantages of being versatile and for the purposes of surveillance, and also because they're cheap and easy to maintain. And in some cases, they're so small and quiet that they evade notice by people, which makes it a key element in modern warfare and modern surveillance for people. And proposed legislation would require the FFA to grant permits quickly and allow broader use of the technology by the middle of 2015.
Thank you. And Eric, for your next question, how would intervention benefit society as a whole?
Well, there's attacks by criminals, terrorists, and foreign governments, and these are both frequent and destructive. So the government, particularly the NSA, must engage in mass surveillance and monitoring the U.S. telecommunications in order to prevent these attacks. And our main goal is only to help people, and it feels very disingenuous of society when they oppose this because everyone has their life plastered on the internet, all their social media sites, and there's actually an experiment done by a small organization where a psychic sat people down and asked them their name, and they would magically guess all these personal aspects of their life, and then at the end they would open up the curtains, and behind the psychic would be a team of computer guys just searching the person's Facebook, Instagram, everything of that sort. So it's honestly all about the safety. We're just trying to help the society, and because of that, I'm for government intervention.
All right, thank you. And Samantha, what is the collected information being used for?
The information that's used for is to look at suspected terrorists, and as Obama said, the more we saddle with the government, the more responsibility it has to take in our life. For example, society accepted the extra precautionaries after 9/11 with the airports, such as the extra scannings, you had to have water in the 4-ounce bottles, because society saw the reasoning behind it. They had been handled with an attack, 9/11, and they saw why it was necessary. In this case, with the invasion of privacy, people can't see clear why we are having to look at certain information of people. But the reasoning behind it is for the safety. We're not just looking at information because we want to know about people's lives. We're looking at possible threats, like we would if we found a bomb in a suitcase, we would investigate it, and if we saw someone Googling how to make a bomb, it can be handled as the same situation. And that is why I'm for the government looking into people's information.
Thank you. And Derek, are there any agreements between government and technological companies?
Yes, there are actually quite a few agreements between the technological companies and the government. First is PRISM, like Barrett stated, it allows the NSA analyst to access information with several companies such as like Microsoft, Google, Facebook, and Apple. The companies involved are claiming that they don't know anything about it or do not support it because they can get emails, pictures, any data possible that you put on these websites or applications, but they are claiming that no, we're not a part of it because it's really bad media for them. Although many reports, especially in the Washington Post and Time Magazine, are claiming that there is information that they are involved, and a guy by the name of Edward Snowden used to work for the NSA. He released all of this information, and he has proof that these companies are involved. And he released this by showing a PowerPoint presentation, and these companies have been leaked, and they're trying to get this bad reputation away, but they're still a part of it. Also, Verizon Wireless has had records leaked that were given to the government, like what their phone use was, and so now that's a big issue with technological companies because people think that all their phone companies now are looking into everything they're doing on their phone.
Thank you. And Esteban, what is the government's current policy regarding drones?
The FFA is very careful concerning the safety and privacy implications of UAVs or drones. Even though drones are envisioned for safety and surveillance and search and rescue missions, also for dangerous tactical police operations, they're likely to be embraced by law enforcement around the nation for other more controversial purposes, such as tracking, as the Justice Department currently claims the authority to monitor comings and goings of Americans using GPA tracking devices. And so, with fleets of UAVs at hand, it would make it a lot easier to enable mass tracking of vehicles and pedestrians on a wide scale. And it could very well be expanded from surveillance to actual intervention in law enforcement situations on the ground someday, which is why we have the need for a strict policy concerning these drones. For one, it should be deployed by law enforcement only with a warrant, and only in the case of an emergency, which creates usage limits, and images retained by these drones should be only kept if they're pertaining to an ongoing investigation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So just a quick recap of what you heard. Barrett spoke a little about the methods that the government is using and reasons why the information is useful and how it can benefit society. Samantha spoke about the type of information that's being collected and how the public response is with that information. And Derek spoke briefly about how technology can be used to collect personal information, and also the possibility of some agreements between larger tech companies and the government. And then Esteban gave some information on the government's use of drones and the current policies that they have regarding that. And at this time, I would like to thank all of the panel members for coming and speaking, and also thank the audience for coming and listening, and we can take any questions at this time.
My question is directed towards Derek. What steps can regular civilians do to stop this invasion of privacy from taking place?
Derek, what steps can regular civilians do to stop the privacy invasion from taking place?
There's a multitude of steps that you can take. First is that you don't accept the terms and conditions, like I said before, where as soon as you download an application or use some type of software, you do not accept it because there's a lot of hidden stuff behind it that you don't know. So you should really read it if you're going to accept it, and if not, then don't accept it because they can access whatever they'd like as long as they put it in the fine print. The second way is encrypting your data, but that also gives them more incentive to find out what you're doing. So it's a way to keep your information secure, but it also makes you look more suspicious, giving them more incentive to try and dive into what you're doing. Also, turn off your location data on your phone. so they cannot track where you are. They can still find methods, like with a Verizon Wireless, like I had said, they can find out who you're calling and where it's going to, but if you turn off your location data, it's with your apps or anything that you use, if you send an email, it's less likely that they'll find out. If they really want to, they will, but it won't be as severe as they normally do. Also, there's, with the new iPhone, if you want to stay away from the government invading your privacy, these new smartphones are very dangerous. With the new iPhone, it has the fingerprint on it, and whenever you put your fingerprint on there, people are afraid that it's going to save your fingerprint and people could hack into it, or if you send a threatening text, the government could find out that it was you. Whereas before, if I had a track phone from Walmart, it wouldn't hold up in a court of law because they can't prove that I sent the text. Whereas now they'll have your thumbprint to know that it is you. And the Apple claims that they aren't saving your thumbprints, but in reality they are, because whenever you want to buy app store purchases, they can use your thumbprint as a way of, as a password, so they can find out that it was you. So it has to be stored in their system somehow. And lastly, there's also these new Droid phones, these Motorola X phones, that it's always listening no matter what. So you can just say a keyword and your phone will do anything for you. You can turn the feature off, but no matter what, it's usually always still listening. In my phone, for example, you say one phrase and it will come on, so it's kind of a scary thought.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I have a question for Samantha. What information is the government looking at?
Samantha, what information is the government looking at?
The information that they can look at without a warrant is only the phone number and then the duration of the call. With a warrant, they have to have a judge give them a warrant, and they can't look at any other information besides that. So in reality, they can't look at the context, and they can't look at who the person who owns the number actually is.
All right, thank you. And that's all the questions that we have time for today. Thank you very much for coming.